Very good. Well, those of you who are joining today, I appreciate you signing up to log in and enjoy a little bit of time with us. My name's Dwayne Donaldson. I'm a faculty member here in the finance department of the business programs at Columbus State, and I'm a CPA by trade. By way of introduction, I've been a fellow at Ernst & Young early on in my career in the audit department. Audited a lot of businesses, moved on to an investment or a employee benefits consulting firm. So I got into retirement planning, compensation planning, and so forth, but only a small amount from the consulting side. Really, I was running the internal operations of the organization. So I was into budgeting, tax work, financial presentation, treasury, those kind of activities. And then I moved on and became the CFO of a hospital system. And then later on, before I became a full-time academician, I was adjuncting for 13 years at a couple of larger universities, as well as owning an ambulance company and a sleep lab. So it kept me really busy. So I come with a lot of corporate background. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that planning is crucial. If you spend between 10 and 20% of your time planning and 80 to 90% of your time doing, you actually have a chance to make the, I guess I'll call it the Forbes 500, if you will, of individuals, because most people don't plan well. They take too much time thinking, not enough time doing. And when they do plan, they play around. It's like a sandbox. They really are not serious about it. So if you take the process seriously and devote a little bit of time to planning and then just do it, and know that you're going to make mistakes, okay? That goes without saying. You're going to make mistakes. So we give you some of that grace in our life. We all have that. And the economics of your financial future are really within your realm. Life is going to happen to all of us. Don't get me wrong. Things will go wrong. If you live long enough, they will go wrong. And that's okay. We can deal with that as long as we know that we've got a plan, because we can get right back up and start working that plan again. So with that, I would like to open it up to the floor and just ask, does anyone have anything in particular that they want to make sure is covered today? And I will jot it down and make sure that I somehow come around to covering it, as long as it's within somewhat of the realm of creating some personal financial wealth. Does anybody have any questions, comments, things they want me to cover? No?
Dwayne, in the chat, Bridget mentioned, so what are some realistic savings goals?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't see all the, okay, let me move over and see if I can see all the chats. I see the participants. Let's see if I can drop down the chats. Where are they? Over here? Sorry. For participants, here are the chats. Okay, I think I've got those. All right, some realistic savings goals. Okay, we will make sure that we cover that, Bridget. Bridget, along the way, if you have some more particulars as to what kind of savings, let me know and we'll cover that. But I think we'll hit most of that in the second half of today's discussion. All right, if you have any more, I've got the chat up now. Just go ahead and fire some questions in there, and I'll try to keep abreast of it as we move through this. So after we're done, I'll work with the administration here, and within a reasonable time, we'll get you the materials plus a lot more that I'm going to cover today, things that will help you a lot. If you take these, I guarantee you, you will be a multimillionaire. If you take them and use them, you will do very well for yourself. And you don't have to make a ton of money to do that in your lifetime. You just have to be systematic about it and start when you're young, at least as young as possible. The sooner you start, the better off you'll be, because the one thing you can never get back is time. We can get more risky. We can change investments. We can change your lifestyle tomorrow, but I can't get back today. So you'll find out that as we go along here today, that time matters. So start when you're young. And that's going to be the theme that we run into. So let's plan to be a millionaire, and let's go through a few steps that it takes. None of this is going to be overly sexy. It's going to be down to earth, grassroots, basic stuff that if you're good at it, you'll win. Okay, so we're going to see what we can do as far as getting that up and running. Let me pop it up here. All right, so here we go. So what do we do to win? There's several things that we can do, but oh, sorry. The first thing we're going to learn is what are some issues and opportunities? Like, why do we plan ahead? Why even plan? Why don't you just let life happen? So we're going to look at some of those before we even get into the details. Then we're going to look at the financial planning process itself. And if you don't follow the steps, you have a way of losing your way. So we want to make sure we do that well. Then we're going to go into some goal setting and make sure that we have the most important part of the process identified, which is setting the goals. Most people don't do this. They think they do, they think about it, but they don't put it in writing. They don't measure it. And we're going to go through some of those details. Then we're going to look at a couple of budgeting techniques, which is really the foundation, how to build that future moving forward. And then we're going to prove it. We're going to spend some time, and I've got a pretty detailed plan out here that you could use and then tweak. And I'm going to give that to you at the end of the session. So with that, any questions on any of the 5 things that we're going to cover today? I want to make it interactive. If you have questions, please shout them out or throw them up on the board, okay? All right, with that, let's look at some of the issues that we have. So what do we want to plan ahead? Why do we even plan? Well, you plan every day when you wake up. You plan for this week or this month, kind of the short term. So let's call that today, okay? In the current environment, we have several things. You want food in your belly. You want clothes on your back. You want to be able to pay the rent. You want to have a car or at least availability to transportation. You want tuition, books, and technology so that you can take classes and learn things or do your job. You want to have insurances for things that you know would really sink you financially. You want to have some kind of backup. You want to also have kind of an emergency fund today. You want to have something that says I don't have to freak out when the brakes go out on the car or when something happens at my dwelling, whether it's your home or an apartment, or I have to come up with a deductible for something. And I also, maybe I want to just go on a vacation. Maybe it's a long weekend somewhere. I just want to be able to do something to get out of the rat race, especially during COVID. So how do we manage that? Well, we could move forward then and say, well, we can come up with a plan for that. Well, but what about the next like 1 to 5 years? I can see that horizon. I'm planning for that today in my education. So what do I do? So do you want to have another car? Maybe you want to get a better car. Maybe you want to get your first home or first duplex or something where somebody helps you pay the bill. Maybe you want to start saving for retirement, and I will circle that until we bleed here. We want to make sure start early, even if it's small, start early. Pay off your debts. I want to get my college stuff behind me, whatever I accumulated. I want to get that car baggage off me. I want to get my home I want to get a down payment maybe built for the home. I want to pay off my credit cards. Okay, do yourself a favor, please. Don't get into the credit card trap. Okay, successful people stay out of debt. And then why? Well, if you want to borrow money in the future for your home or some other significant thing, lenders are going to require that you have these things under wraps to some degree. They want to know that you can manage your life. If you can't manage your life, why would they give you money? It doesn't make sense to them. So why do we plan? Well, let's look down the road beyond the first 5 years. Geez, well, I would like to gift to others. I'd like to give something to my family, maybe pay off my kids' college, send them to college, maybe something better than I had, maybe pay off your home, pay cash for cars in the future. Wow, that would be a concept. Actually go out and buy an appliance without a credit card program. How to have multiple vacations a year. Maybe I go on a couple long weekends and maybe a full week or 2 vacation somewhere, and I can take the time, but I have to have the resources. How do I leave a legacy? You know, I actually want to give money, put it in a trust, maybe buy an insurance policy for some philanthropic need that I have or desire I have. And then again, lenders need it. So you better show up with some kind of a plan. All right. So some of the steps that we go through in financial planning is the first thing is we determine where we're at. Okay, that's called a balance sheet and an income statement. So we're going to go into that. We want to develop then some goals. We're going to do that too. So if you don't have these defined and written down, how do you know where you're going? We don't shoot rocket ships off and wonder where they're going. You don't head your car down the road and not where you're going, at least usually, right? Then we want to identify alternatives. What are some of the alternatives that we need in order to get done what we need to do? Then we have to evaluate those. Okay, life is not a stagnant thing. Life moves, life changes. Okay, risks change. Life moves around us and we move through it. So we have to keep assessing it all the time. What's changing? What do I need to take care of? How do I move from step A to B to C? Then we need to put the plan in action. Just go do it. Just get started. Don't overthink it. You've got a good plan, move. Then you want to review and revise. Constantly review and revise as much as you possibly can, especially early on until you get the process down. It just makes good common sense for you to continue to evaluate. So once we look at our current position, well, what's that called? Well, we call that a monthly cash flow. Like what do you have going on? What kind of income do you have? Do you have multiple streams of income? Do you have one? And then what do you spend your money on? Okay, so that's over a period of time. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's a year. But we need to know what do you have coming in and what do you have going out. So let's have a true assessment. And you may need some tools to do that. Okay? You've got records, but we need something to manage. Then we want to look at your balances. Okay, what do you have now? What do you own and what do you owe? Own is called assets. Liabilities are called is what you owe. So we want to know what do you have that's available and what do you owe to other people out of there, and do you have anything left over? If so, that's called equity, okay, or net worth. So we want to make sure that we stay on top of that. The second thing is we want to develop goals. So the first thing is assess yourself, okay? Take an online assessment. I'm going to give you one at the end of today. So assess yourself. Why do you feel the way you do about money? How do you feel about investing it? So meaning I put it away and I'm not spending it today. Do you like that? Or do you just want to spend it no matter what? Okay, understand that so other people can help you. If you don't understand yourself, no one else is going to be able to really help you, truly help you. So you need to know yourself and you need to know the risks of your job. Is it a changing job? Is it pretty stable? Where is the income potential? All those things. What about your personal side, your health, inflation? What about inflation? What about interest rates? What about liquidity? Hey, I'm kind of cash poor, but I'm saving everything and I'm putting money in my house and whatever. But man, every once in a while I get into a bind, I can't even pay my monthly bills. Well, maybe we need to back off on the long-term stuff and put a little bit more in that cushion for today and then move forward with the long-term stuff, because you don't want to drive yourself psychologically crazy with this stuff. And then the last one is be smart. On the goals, they need to be in writing, but they need to be specific, okay? Objective and numerical. How much, okay? They need to be measurable. Put a dollar value to it, okay? Put a score to it. Something that says, I've got a score in this game. So for instance, do you ever go to a basketball game and wonder, well, what's the score? You look up at a scoreboard, right? That's what a balance sheet and an income statement as compared to your goals is. That's what that's all about. So make it measurable. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, okay? So you have to be able to monitor it and then measure it and then manage it. Make it action-oriented. Get your rear end up off the couch and go do something about it. Go set that account up. Go call the person at the payroll department and say, hey, what form do I have to fill out? I need to put 3 or 4% away for this. Get some information. What's the company match? What are my investment options with this money? I know it may not seem like much now, but it'll be a huge amount later. Then we want to be realistic. Okay, make it logical. Does it make sense? Just look at it and say, does this pass the eye test? If it doesn't, let's tweak it. Then let's make it time oriented. So those are SMART goals. Okay. When am I going to save this? When am I going to do this? Put times, put a real plan together, because if you don't, you're kidding yourself. So if you get good at this stuff, it'll just start to become natural, like a good habit. The third thing is, let's look at the alternative courses of action that we need to walk through. So what are the possible courses? Do I stay the same course when change comes and I'm doing fine? Do I expand or contract my current course? Do I make this bigger? Say, hey, we're doing great. Let's make it big. Hey, this isn't working out so well. Maybe we need to pull back just a step. Let's look at another direction. And therefore, maybe we look at new courses of action. So we have options, but let's look at those options and be realistic about them. Then the other part of that is be creative with your decision making. Go out and get new ideas. Read. Okay, successful people read. Successful people look at new things and think, how could I incorporate that? Who would that help? How would that help me? Okay, and go out and discuss it with professionals. Again, be action oriented, be creative, push people with ideas, push people that know what they're doing. Don't hang around people in this mode that don't know as much as you do, or they only know a little bit more than you. Go out and find the best people you can and put the best team together to help you become the best that you can be in this venue, because it's so important. You work too hard for this. The fourth one is, let's evaluate some alternatives. So we want to look at opportunity costs. What is the opportunity that I have here versus over here? We have multiple tracks that we can go down. So let's look at our different alternatives and think about the trade-offs. If I do this, then what? If I don't do this, then what? So run a lot of what ifs. The next thing we want to do is evaluate risk. One, your income. I talked about this briefly, but is your job at risk? Are your skills at risk? Are you educating yourself? What about your health, your safety, your location? I don't like where I live. I want to live somewhere else. Or I love where I live. I don't want to move anywhere else. I like, my health is good. Maybe I need to change something in that, because if you don't take care of you, you're not going to be around for 40 years. Okay, so how do I work through these things? Interest rates. If I don't take care of my financial house, everything in life becomes more expensive. People don't want to insure you. They don't want to loan money to you. Okay, it's harder to be involved with people when there's not a detailed plan. So interest becomes huge, especially for homes and your car. Those are, and hopefully eventually you get rid of the car loan. Dave Ramsey tell you never have one. Only have a home and make it reasonable. Inflation. What's the general economy doing? Is this a good time to invest here, borrow here? Just look at that in relation to interest and inflation together. And is this going to help me or hurt me? And then look at liquidity. Do you want to be cash poor and house or car rich? Okay. A lot of people running down the streets look great, and then when they pull into their house, it's like, ooh, boy, I don't want to live there. Okay. And if that's you, how do you want to change it? Be realistic. Set a goal and say, that's what I want to become in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Set a goal and get busy getting it done. Okay. I think in the Shawshank Redemption, they say, get busy living or get busy dying. One of the two, because you're doing one of the two. You're not staying stagnant. You're moving forward or you're moving backwards. So be realistic about that. So what do you want and what are you willing to do to go get it? All right. When you evaluate your alternatives, here's another way of looking at it. You have your personal opportunities, you have financial opportunities, you also have other financial acquisitions. So how much am I willing to give versus take in all these different areas? Then we want to implement the plan. First thing is, it's got to be written. Why? So you can share it with others. Maybe it's a significant other or a spouse. Maybe it's your parents or a sibling or a friend. Maybe it's a professional. If you can't put it in writing or let them put it in writing and help them walk you through, again, I'll say you're kidding yourself. It's a wish list. It's not a plan. It's a wish. Okay. Be very distinct about that. Okay. Make sure you understand that if you don't put it in writing, it's really not a plan. It's just a thought, and you will change the definition of that thing so many times that you'll never hit the real goals that you wanted to hit. Then how do you prioritize? Okay. How do I create income? Do I work more? Do I get better work? Maybe I don't need to work more. Maybe I need to work less, but at a better job. Okay. That fits inside my career. Make it a career. That's how you'll optimize yourself. And then how do you handle your expenses? Can I reduce anything? Can I manage it a little bit better to put myself in a better spot down the road? And then put it into action. Go out and get the professionals, the insurance person, the investment broker. Maybe it's an agent out there for buying a home. Go out and get the best. Make them say no to you. Say, well, you're not big enough for it. Well, I will be someday. When should I call you? How big do I have to be? How good do I have to be? All right, great, because I want the best. And then make decisions and live with them. Okay, make the decision, start moving, and realize that everything doesn't work out perfectly. But if you keep your eye on the ball, it will change in your direction. Okay. I was in front of a professional golfer one time. He was talking to the group of us at an event, and he said, and this was Chichi Rodriguez, a little fellow. He was on the pro. He was never on the main tour, really. He was on a Nike tour, they call it today, but he was in the senior tour. And he said, "It's amazing how lucky I get the harder I work." Okay. Another partner used to tell me, if you want doors to open, you have to be in front of the door when it opens. So get up off the couch, go get in front of doors, go make it happen. It won't always work out. The door won't always open, but when it does, who's going to be there? You. Okay. So get busy making it happen. The other one is review and revise your plan. You got to review and revise. So you want to assess, where are you, at least annually. Sit down with paper, with pencil, with this open discussion, and have a good, hard, honest review of where you're at. Okay. So more often, you have to look at things like social factors, economic factors. What's my personal situation? Oh, I've got a kid on the way. That changes things. Okay. So what do we want to change it to be? Okay. Maybe I'm newer at the process and I need to do this every month. I need to sit down for an hour and look at my budget and get my records out and say, gosh darn it, more people know how to manage video games, okay, and do social media and all kinds of things more than they know about their economic life. Okay, it's really kind of sad, and I'll say it that way. We need to challenge ourselves to be better. So review it. When you review it and take care of it, other people will want to help you too. Okay, and you'll get better outcomes. So my last thing on that, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay, get busy putting it down, get your ideas moving, and then get to work. Here's kind of a flow to put this in mind over a lifetime, is that early on you have some initial goal setting and you get a house and you get your insurance plans put together, the few that you need. You don't need a lot, just a few. And then set goals. And then you're going to start moving into, hey, I've got tax planning. I've got to assess, how am I going to ever retire? My dad's 84. He'll never retire. He still farms. He runs the family farm. But he doesn't do as much as he used to. He works probably 25% of what he used to. We don't have a body shop. We don't have hogs. We don't have all those other things, but he still grain farms, and that's great. But he has a source of income. He's got many sources of income between mom and he, and they've worked this out. Okay, but they're hardworking and they get their nose down and they get it dirty, because this doesn't just happen. You have to make this happen. You have to predict your life the best that you possibly can, and then feel good about it. You won't feel good. You will go to bed many nights with a knot in your stomach when you don't need to. Okay, you can actually rise above all of this and put a really good plan together, but then stick to it and do the best you can. Okay, you'll feel really good about it. So some key factors in saving for the future. The first few things you want to do early on: save for an emergency fund. That's in the next 1 to 2 months, get $1,000. Somehow, some way, get $1,000 legally, of course, but get $1,000 put away. That way you don't worry about when something, and we're not talking pizza money here. This is true money that you put away, okay? That is for when something goes wrong. The brakes need to be done on the car and the washing machine has a problem, and okay, that's an emergency for now. Eventually those won't be emergencies. You'll have those covered too. Then we need to put 3 to 6 months of living expenses away. Okay, that way it takes the burden off of you and anybody else that you're sharing your economic life with. It takes the burden off. More people have relationship problems because of financial distress. Okay, life's going to happen to us. You're going to lose your job. Okay, the company's going to close. You're going to get disinterested, maybe not work the way you want to, whatever. Life's going to happen. But if you don't have a plan and you don't start putting it away, it happens to you faster. And then you make bad decisions when bad things happen to you because you're not ready. You didn't anticipate that bad things could happen, or that you had resources to fall back on and say, okay, let's have a pity party for a day or two and then let's move on and let's see what we've got. But if you've got a reserve there, it makes it a lot easier. And then can you build for the long term? Your kids, your home, your retirement, other plans. Maybe you want to get another business, whatever that is. Then what do? Well, maintain low debt. Invest in quality assets. Let the assets build for you. And we're going to do an example here in a few minutes. And I'm going to show you, let the assets work for you. Eventually, you don't have to work so hard. Work hard in the beginning. Dave Ramsey will tell you, live like no one else. So later on, you can live like no one else. And it's only a small difference. It's not a huge difference in lifestyle. But get quality assets. Get things that are appreciating, not depreciating. Be nimble, have options. Okay, remember we talked about developing alternatives. Life's going to happen to you. The more resources you have and the better you've planned, the better you will deal with those shortcomings in life. Be safe, but not too safe. You've got to take some risks somewhere. Okay, everything isn't, well, gosh, I don't want to lose any of my money. Well, that's not going to happen. You will lose some of it.